It'd be interesting to go out there and make a video about them in this commentary today. 17th overall pick in 2023, and he had signed his ELC back in May, giving the Wings more options with where to assign him for next season. However, the Blue Liner indicated that he needed a harm in it. This article goes out there and gives the scoop with the ASB comments. It's nice to be home for another year. I know the coaches well, and I know my teammates well. We have a good team too, so I just want to stay home and develop for another year. He made these comments during the development camp earlier in July, and he moves well. We just don't see the harm in him sticking around in Sweden. There's no sense in rushing him. The only thing is, he stood out there and says, while placing San Diego and Grand Rapids would have gotten him a head start and adjusting to smaller ice in North America, staying in Sweden means to remain under the watchful eye of key personnel based there, including Nicholas Gronwall, who heads the European player development part of the Wings. Not to say that Axe couldn't come over to play in GR, no problem, but Skellefteå is a really good development league, clearly said. It's well run. Now, this, of course, is a pretty good sign when it comes to the Red Wings and their decision-making, that the player, the team, everybody's on the same page here. There is no need to rush ASP. This, of course, has been a pattern the Wings have exhibited for the past, let's say, decades even. They don't insider or they spend double time in the American Hockey League. They don't like to rush their guys, and that is totally okay. So for ASP, if he spends another year in Skellefteå, has a pretty solid season, and then plays in the NHL at the end of this upcoming year, and then in 2025-2026, I think that's a pretty reasonable expectation when it comes to his own development plan, and it could be seen as one of these situations where he actually takes that slow growth and is able to expand his league and reach to the best way possible. Let's go back over onto the Pro Hockey Rumors article. ASP showed pretty well last season. Skellefteå, recording 10 goals, 8 assists in 39 games. He had 74 points in 14 playoff games while seeing his ice time jump to over 22 minutes that night. If he can stay in that type of role for next season, the decision to stay in that league will likely prove to be the right one. Now, let's go into our second news piece or idea from this Pro Hockey Rumors article. Moving from Detroit. Last month, Steve Yzerman said that his preference wasn't to carry 3 goalies again next season. However, he then went and added goaltenders Cam Talbot and Jack Campbell in free agency, while Oladipo and Alex Martin are still under contract, suggesting they'll go with 3 net runners again in 2024-2025. This Pro Hockey Rumors article then cites a Connor Bearded piece from the Hockey News, highlighting how one of the drawbacks of that approach as it pertains to the roster management of the Wings suggests that the third goalie could come off an opportunity for one of their younger players to make the roster in training camps, assuming the remaining option. He's re-signed, the Wings could have all 23 roster spots occupied by returnees, free agent additions, or prospects who are now waiver eligible. They still have a few months to potentially open up a spot they want to create an open roster opportunity for players to battle for. And this is one of the things that I think scratches a lot of other people's heads when they really think about it. Like, okay, yeah, the Red Wings had themselves this goaltender carousel last year that was seen as not really the most preferable situation for the team. But in season they're doing the same thing. Jack Campbell is probably going to be an NHL guy. Oladipo is making too much money to get sent down. Alex Lyon is good, and he probably is the top guy if you don't want to think about this slide can only become like this. Right now, this was off up to like 2024 and 2050. And yeah, Talbot, who had just signed with Detroit in the offseason too. So there are 3 guys who could projectively be a part of the organization. And the argument here is that, okay, if you have 3 goaltenders, not only are you going to be forced to rotate around with a bunch of guys again, but you also will be better for other guys from making the team. Not even just talking about Sebastian Cosa or Trey Augustine or any of the goaltender prospects, but other guys who can fill out extra spots. You only have so limited spots on your NHL team, so do you really want to go out there and explore three guys rotating around the net? Especially if you wanted to say that Cam Talbot is going to be your number one. Like, you would have a battle for two between Ryan and Husso. Obviously, I think Red Wings fans know that Husso is the inferior goaltender, so are the Red Wings kind of trapped and forced to make a trade here? Who really knows? Does the Jack Campbell signing have much implication in this anyway? If Jack Campbell wasn't signed, would they be still willing to keep a guy like Husso up because he's making the amount of money that he's making? There are a lot of conversations and questions to think about when it comes to the Wings and what their perspectives are. But it does beg the question, does Stevie Y have something else up his sleeve here? Is he going to find a way to cook to get rid of one of the other goaltenders that are already on the team and open up an extra spot for a younger guy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you feel the Red Wings should do in that respect? But before we end off this video, I want to talk about one final news story that was included in this Pro Hockey Rumors article. It's written down here at the bottom. After spending the last 3 seasons as Detroit's director of hockey ops, Aaron Kahn has been promoted to assistant GM while retaining his previous title as well. Really, he's popped up at Detroit Hockey now. He joins Sean Volkov and Chris Draper as those with an AGM title. Detroit is Aaron Kahn's first stop in the NHL after a 4-year collegiate career as a goaltender. Now, this is like really minor news. It's not really the biggest headline out there that Aaron Kahn, of all people, has been promoted to an assistant GM of the Wings. But this is one of these news where it's like, hey, Steve Yzerman is bolstering up his crew. He's getting his guys they're all confident in. And for Kahn to work his way up into this position, it is a pretty nice thing to see. Of course, he doesn't have the same longevity with the Wings like Chris Draper does or Steve Yzerman does, but he's being trusted in this role, and it seems like he'll be working more on Red Wings hockey business. He'll be talking about contracts, salary cap stuff. It bodes well for the law degree that he does have. Okay, so my continuing look at the NHL and some of the assets. Well, let's talk about Winnipeg Jets today. The Winnipeg Jets are a team that still has got a lot of question marks. And I'm not sure what the team's going to look like come fall. It is possible they look like what we have on the board right here, but there are still question marks about whether or not it's going to be traded and what they're looking for if they do look to trade these players, because Steelers, Steelers, we are the block. We know the runs are already taken out there to play, so let's go through it. So first off, the Jets find themselves right in that must-be just 15 and Stanley Cup on. You guys bring it to the on stages, so they're right around there. With they very well be where they end up. So this past season, they were 15th in goal scoring. They were first in goals against Hellebuck, playing some of the best hockey he has in his career in the regular season, and then the playoff season against the Pittsburgh. And I think for the Winnipeg Jets, some kind of change seems to happen. The attendance this past season goes along with Johnson with about the attendance. There's the blue around the sun that they own. Their attendance close to 2,490 per game, so 31st in the NHL, and had a full year from the family. Will first played under the mullet, which could only be 4,600. The Winnipeg Jets, each attendance still alone of the San Jose. Sure. You know, I just want to say, all the parents need to get better. More on their system, I think they did all better. But it's still something that's the one that owners get to with the filters. I don't think the playoff results this past year are going to convince people that they could buy tickets to the biggest side of the
out there. And I'll look through the answer questions first, because I think those are the people within the lineup, which again is a pretty good lineup. But if you were on the team, this has been a conversation about whether or not we're might end up being headed somewhere else. Carolina's one that I saw rumored it a lot. I didn't report on it for the most part. But that was one that we talked about a lot because you know he was a forward that I think is underrated in National Hockey League. That being said, this past season offensively, a little bit underwhelming, but he is a really solid offensive player. What are they going to do with Bavori? So if the market for Bavori is soft, and it may very well be soft, try to find a way to get signed. If he's gone, it's very like his path go to the minors, that's the NHL, and lost the NHL jobs. And so the amount of teams that are going to be calling for players that apparently want the job right away in the NHL might be short. You're looking at teams like in Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim, teams that can offer a guy around this spot, but what they're offering is not being able to get more. So it is a very dangerous situation when they find yourself in. You don't want to get away from Bavori for $10 and then come back on the play. And Bavori should be a very good player to develop. But my favorite of their recent draft is Paul Barlow. How long ago he's been in NHL regular? So let's just say Barlow comes in as a great fan. And maybe that other players really understand them, right? Maybe there's all of a sudden a lot of forwards in one spot, and then they can trade somebody else, bring somebody else in, maybe to improve your blue line. But that's still a question mark. Slowly Barlow played a few games for Manitoba last year. I would think starting the season in Manitoba, but he was a really strong start. How long is it really tough? Because he was projected this time that he drafted as a player who was going to be top 6 and was pretty darn near NHL ready, at least physically. The mental side of it can take a little bit longer, but physically he's in the shooting right. Kakinen or Comrie, so both of them coming off subpar seasons. I would put Kakinen ahead of Comrie right now. But the question then becomes if Capo Kakinen is the backup, how many games does Hellebuck play? You don't want to end up overplaying him, and I'm not saying that happened this past season, but when a goaltender has a lot of playoffs, it's a discussion we can have about whether or not they overplay their goaltenders. And Brad Lambert. Brad Lambert, of course, had a lot of excitement flying over the house today. Good for him. But Lambert, there was a lot of hype about him in his draft year, and then he tumbled a bit. And it's really up and down. It feels like there's still some people who think Lambert could be a very good NHL player. Some think that he's overrated. I have no idea where Lambert's going to end up. But in the event that, let's just say Barlow and Lambert both look like they're ready for NHL jobs, it may free up the Jets to make some changes. I do think that this is a team that needs to make some changes, because while this is a good core and it's a good team, you can see year after year after year, they're not quite able to get over the hump. Here's how. 2018, they got all the way to conference finals. They lose against Vegas in 5 in the conference finals. One thing I'll say about the Winnipeg Jets is when they lose the series, it's usually pretty fast. In 2019, they lost in the first round against St. Louis in 6. That was the series where the home team won Game 6. That was it. The first 5 games, the road team won every single game, which has been a problem for the Jets winning at home in the playoffs. And so they lose against St. Louis, of course, going to win the Stanley Cup. But in 2020, they lost the qualifying round against the Flames. That was a 3-1 series. The Flames just bullied them right out of the playoffs that year. 2021, they lose in 4 straight in the second round against the Montreal Canadiens. And that was after they got the upset victory over the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. And that jubilation didn't last. 2022, they missed the playoffs altogether. There was discussion about whether or not they might need some sort of rebuild. They kept the lineup mostly the same. And in 2023, they returned to the playoffs. They lose against Vegas again in 5. And then, of course, this past spring, they beat Colorado in the first round. I was one of the ones that took them to beat Colorado. I thought, you know what, Winnipeg's that. And it's not because I was trying to underrate or, bury Colorado. I just felt like Winnipeg had a great season. They entered the playoffs fourth on my power rankings, and they lost to Colorado in 5 games. And it was tough because that first game, Winnipeg just destroyed Colorado in your game, and then after that, the rest of the series goes entirely other direction. So, for the Winnipeg Jets, their top line likely will be Connor, Cycling, Malari. That's very likely the way it goes. Connor, nearly a point per game with 61 points in 65 games. I'm wearing my Kyle Connor jersey here. I got this one from SC Sports. This jersey prices on jerseys right now, so I'll buy one for $50. Thanks. So Kyle Connor had a good year. I think he's still a 40-goal scorer for a full 82-game schedule anyway, but he's got to play every game. He's playing top minutes because he showed how well he scored this past season. St. Ehlers had 25 goals, 51 points in 82 games. Again, it's been out there in rumors. There were those who believe he's very much underrated. I would agree. Don't watch the Jets play. It would be easy to look at Ehlers' contract and his cap hit and say, he's all right. He's a very good player. I think that cap hit kind of regarded. Lowry or Domestikov is your second line center. That's where things get a little different. And I say that because while I like Lowry and Domestikov as a work ethic, I don't know if they have any true number 2 centers. My memory tells me Velarde's played down the middle too. So there's that opportunity, right? Lowry, 81 games, 12 goals, 35 points. Again, Lowry's their captain. He's a fantastic player. But did he be the second line center? No. Perfetti at 19 goals in 71 games, 38 points. Perfetti, I think, is ready for a greater role with his team. Don't make him a healthy scratch again. But then you get down to the third.
Thinking about home insurance? Get a quote and buy home insurance online to save 10%
on your first line. And what I've done with a lot of these, since I've talked to folks about this, I don't feel like that tells you the only picture with the Jets. You got to go with the top 9. And it's interesting because, again, goal scoring, they were 50 in past season. So it's interesting that their offense, I think, is excellent. Nino Niederreiter at 18 goals, 34 points this past season at 77. Love Nino again. Domestikov, 11 goals, 37 points in 78 games. He's finally found a home. And Appleton, 14 goals, 36 assists in 82 games. After a brief stopover in Seattle, he goes back to Winnipeg and he's right back to the quality. So I love the top 9 in Winnipeg. I like this too. But definitely there's something that's causing them to not play good every month in the playoffs. And I do think changes to make it kind of good, right? Now on the blue line, still got John Morrison, 10 goals, 59 points in games. Morrison straight defensive. It's mildly to do after that. So the Zano has 30, 3 goals, 20 to 31 points. He's played all these games. That's a different stuff. It's just good he can give Nolan a legitimate chance to show what he can do in the top 6 as well. Denver might take a bit of a jump offensively. He only had 1 goal this past season with 17 assists. I think there's a little more offense there. John, 5 goals, 28 assists, 32 points. John at times was pretty good. At other times, and again, Winnipeg does send his first and goals again, so the reception is good. And I will on to the next one.
Yo.
So that was on different, and it's quite awesome. So go all the way back to 2018 and that run is conference play. And over the length of that play on the line, Alabama was 9 and 8. Remember, 2019 was 4. 9-13 saves like that. 2020, 1-3%, almost 4 saves percent. 2021 is 4 and 4 with a 9-31 saves percent. And then it gets kind of ugly over the last couple of years. Now, speaking of that, savings call teams are going to be up. The 2023 Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup. But with an 86% for Hellebuyck, Vegas, and again, full disclosure, Vegas took apart every goaltender they played in the 2023 playoffs. No goaltender had good numbers since